Hello, everybody. Greetings from Colombo, Sri Lanka once again. It's my pleasure to be presenting this paper at the 2020 HDCA conference hosted by the Massey University in New Zealand. I would like to share how we can draw insights from the Buddhist philosophy to conceptualize sustainability in our journey towards a sustainable and just model of development. Now, let's then have a look at what a society within a sustainable and just model of development looks like. From the perspective of the human development and capabilities approach, it's a setting where people have choice, enjoy substantial freedoms, and effectively exercise their agency. It's a setting where there's no political oppression and people are able to maintain their dignity while achieving their true potential. If we ask the question, what currently has the most significant influence on sustainable and just societies, the answer is not that difficult. It is Industry 4.0 or the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The Fourth Industrial Revolution is changing societies by offering a mixed basket of both good and bad, from killer robots and suicide drones to drones that deliver emergency aid, from 3D printed guns to 3D printed prosthetic limbs. Advanced digital technologies like blockchain, IoT or Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence have begun to shape our world. Digital technologies are currently touching every aspect of human life. There is a fusion between biology and technology, a convergence of cyber and physical worlds. So, what does the Buddhist philosophy have to offer in this context? Zen states that although times have changed, we can still benefit from the Buddhist reasoned approach to ethics, politics, and social relations. As Zen also states, it is important to remember that Gautama Buddha was not a god. He was a human with a higher and awakened consciousness. Buddhist metaphysical reasoning is truly interesting and enlightening. However, it could prove to be complex to delve directly into this philosophy of Anitya, Dukkha, and Anatma. Therefore, let's concentrate instead on the Buddhist reasoned approach to worldly problems and its practical use for us in today's context. Buddhism recommends individuals to follow a path of moderation. Practicing and mastering the Noble Eightfold Path is at the core of Buddhist teaching. It requires the discipline of the mind, body, and speech. Loving kindness and empathy takes a central place in Buddhism. What is the Noble Eightfold Path? It is a practical way of life which is within the reach of anybody. It revolves around moderation and consists of 8 primary teachings and insights, namely right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The term right in this context means wholesome and skillful. The path covers the 3 areas of wisdom, ethical, and mental discipline, which needs to be skillfully mastered. I believe it's important to view moderation as a capability. To reach a sustainable and just model of development, we need to ask the question, are people able to be moderate and do things in moderation? In everyday life, this simply refers to limits and discipline, respect for self, for other living beings, and the environment. It's a balance. Capability of moderation should be treated as a foundational capability towards creating a sustainable and just model of development. Moderation can greatly influence sustainability. Sustainability can influence a just society. Moderation as a capability, therefore, can create a positive cycle. As the main stakeholders of development, citizens, governments, and corporates must gravitate towards moderation to create the positive cycle. Citizens, as right holders, must consume in moderation to create a meaningful and wholesome demand. Corporates, as a responsible stakeholder, must obey ethics, values, and principles towards responsible production. Government, as the primary duty bearer, must create the socio-economic conditions conducive to foster the capability of moderation. We need to move towards a sustainable and just model of development centered around the capability of moderation without delay. We are not just at the threshold of an era where there are new forms of capability deprivations. We are very much in the midst of it. The 2019 HDR report states that there's divergence in enhanced capabilities in areas such as effective access to present day technologies. This became ever so evident during the COVID-19 pandemic, where people had to move onto online digital technologies. Needless to say, that not everyone in society had the capability to do so. Digital technologies have intentionally and unintentionally aggravated human problems. Greed-driven pursuit of digital technologies have begun to entrench inequality in society. This directly points towards accelerated destruction of the core of human existence. Digital technologies are produced through the manipulation of elements. For example, the batteries and microchips that power computers requires lithium and silicon. Such elements and other rare earths occur in nature. Excessive mining for rare earth to produce digital technologies harms ecologies, flora, fauna, and entire animal habitats. The mining industry is one of the biggest polluters in the world. Not just the mining, the entire process of excessively developing, deploying, and using digital technologies harms the planet. Consumers in the current market, broadly speaking, are materialistic, greedy, and tends to hoard. When it comes to the individual and digital technologies, digital distractions are addictively consumed. Humans are malleable, and big tech companies are exploiting this. People are exposing themselves to digital addictions and luxuries, and thereby allowing them to be manipulated. This results in heightened dissatisfaction, and the digital addictions have a significant impact on independent agency. It is now clear that digital technologies affect us directly as well as through the environment in which we live, creating an existential threat. One of the experts who is contributing currently to the ISC and UNDP joint project on re-articulating human development expressed what we need right now very well. We need to raise our consciousness. This is exactly what insights from Buddhism can offer, creating conscious citizens and consumers. Individuals must counter the manipulation of agency happening through digital technologies, which stimulates the external human senses, and I'm referring to the eye, especially the visual. The practical Noble Eightfold Path is within the reach of anybody and provides insights towards this end. For example, social media has become a platform for hate speech and disinformation. Practicing and drawing insights from the teaching of right speech will greatly reduce harmful behavior on social media. Technology such as AI or artificial intelligence has also been misused, for example, to create deep fake videos, which greatly misleads and twists the truth. Here, we can learn from what the Buddha expounded in the Kalama discourse. Do not accept and believe merely because of reports and news spreading far and wide throughout the world. Exercise your own intelligence and investigate to find the truth. We must look beyond our senses to protect our agency. It is important to be selective about all that digital tech presents. We must consume in moderation. Here, we can draw insights from the teaching of right mindfulness. Facebook has what they call the endless scroll, and YouTube auto-suggests an endless number of videos. This distracts and traps us. But if we are aware of our surroundings while being anchored in the here and now, we can put an end to those addictions. We can then focus on our life responsibilities, such as what has been expounded in the Sigalova discourse. How we should minister 6 groups of people who are close to us in our lives. It also helps to systematically withdraw from our daily routines from time to time and engage in meditation to experience samadhi or a deep sense of relaxation. Other Buddhist teachings, such as practicing the 5 precepts, will also help societies to heal. Buddha argued that humans have great responsibility towards other species due to an advantage in asymmetry of power. This responsibility is similar to that of the mother toward her child. This analogy is relevant for both governments as well as corporates in the modern world when dealing with citizens. Both government and industry must use this asymmetry of power they possess in the form of political and economic advantage to foster the capability of moderation in society. And I'm calling on the individuals behind the structures of governments and corporates to take heed. With this in mind, dialogues around ethics, values, and principles in technology is critical. Industry, academics, and professionals alike are currently engaged in this, and there are many noteworthy examples, such as the Principles for Digital Development, the Tech Festival in Denmark, the European Union Guidelines for Ethical and Trustworthy Artificial Intelligence, and the OECD efforts. These efforts must ensure that the foundational capability of moderation is not subject to deprivation from individuals and society. In addition to ethical technologies, both the industry and governments should work together to make digital technology available for humanity for free or at a very reasonable cost. There's a great example from Buddhism. Almost every attempt at early printing in the world was undertaken by Buddhist technologists. The first printed book in the world that is dated was a Buddhist treatise and was distributed free. Government should work with the big tech companies now to achieve the sustainable development goals. When we consider the main duty bearer as a stakeholder, governments should harness technology to promote social justice and reduce inequality. As a start, at least to place citizens above an ample threshold of Nussbaum's 10 central capabilities. While ensuring privacy, government should use digital tech to collect and analyze data for better governance. This will also include improving transparency and accountability to foster trust between stakeholders. Sen speaks about the relevance of achieving the outcomes of governance through values rather than punitive actions. The story of Angulimala in Buddhist folklore tells us how the Buddha helped a ruthless brigand to transform. It teaches us how important it is to stimulate the goodness in people by giving them a chance at redemption, even wrongdoers in society. Gautama Buddha preached the need for spreading loving kindness to all beings, starting from oneself, spreading it outward to all humans, other beings, and the environment. With that type of understanding in society, people like George Floyd might never have to utter the words, "I can't breathe." We already have exemplary leaders who are endeavoring to bring the real human spirit back into governance. The need to be strong as well as kind is well explained in the Buddhist teaching of Dasa Rajadharma, or the 10 royal qualities. As we can see, Buddhist insights can contribute greatly towards a positive interaction amongst the stakeholders. It will create meaningfulness and wholesomeness in the nexus of supply and demand amongst the three stakeholders. The context is now right to create a domino effect towards rearticulating human development, that of raising our consciousness. The 2020 Human Development Report is timely in focusing on meeting people's aspirations in balance with the planet. Global awareness and accelerated action to prevent racism and climate change has reached new heights. I'm happy to have presented the capability of moderation for discussion at the 2020 HDCA conference. Gautama Buddha states that the distinction whether an individual is an outcast or a Brahmin is based on actions and not by birth. It is time now for us to remember that and make the right choice of moderation towards a sustainable and just model of development. Thank you.
Excellent, Asanga. It's a very timely, kind of discussion. Basically, when we are passing through a very rough phase, whole of the world actually, and then we are revisiting that the world became greedy in due course of time. So, and would you like to add on to your presentation with the perspective of vipassana, because that is a practice mode which I have not gone through that, but many people know that people, if practice that definitely affects. Would you like to say something about?
Yes, Vinay. The practice of vipassana is there are two types of meditation recommended in the Buddhist philosophy, and vipassana is one, and the other is samatha. So, what you try to achieve in samatha is actually trying to, get your concentration to one thing. So, through samatha, you improve your concentration, and then you practice vipassana, where you actually deeply analyze the concepts which are taught in Buddhism. So, for example, things like impermanence, things like non-self and suffering can be analyzed. Once you have that, samatha mastered, then you can go into the vipassana area of vipassana, and that's I think it's a very very important practice in Buddhism. Meditation as a whole, even if you don't do the vipassana part, even because in the rat race today, most people do not have a lot of time. But at least if you can take 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes in the evening, just to concentrate, so to focus on the samatha area, samatha meditation, that will bring a lot of benefits.
Right.
Can
Someone wants to? Yeah, please.
Can I ask a question? Asanga, thank you very much for your presentation, because I think it's complementary with my thoughts. But you said about moderation, and I was wondering how do you see it? Who should moderate? Because at the end of political process, as I see it, there are always politicians. So if we would say that we will moderate, we will set up a path for development, for sustainable development, at the end of the process there are always politics. That's why I was talking about politicians. So who, in your opinion, should moderate this in your model?
Thank you, Monica, for asking that question. And then it allows me actually to make the distinction, because here by moderation, actually, I do not mean the act of sort of negotiating or coming in between parties. The moderation here actually reflects or refers to the balance that individuals that we need to practice and master. So, for example, it could be addiction. So, for example, alcoholism. So, for someone who is addicted to alcohol, that person might not be able to go cold turkey and completely stop the drinking or the smoking. So, the moderation there for that person would be to reduce the amount of alcohol intake. Similarly, this could be for digital consumption as well. If someone is addicted to Facebook, or someone is addicted to playing video games, or someone is addicted to watching YouTube videos, again, they might not be able to go cold turkey and completely stop it. And the point is, there is no need to completely stop it. It's about control. It's about mastering that control in yourself to be able to take the good, because there are good YouTube videos, there are good posts on Facebook. You can keep in touch with your family and friends. So there are good things in technology, and moderation here refers to not just completely discarding technology and saying, no, we don't want technology, we are going back to the Stone Age. That's not what it means. What it means is we need to be able to be intelligent to take the goodness out of technology and use that for humanity, rather than to create extreme and obscene wealth. For example, you may have heard that in the last 3 months or 4 months, when the COVID lockdown was happening, Jeff Bezos, who is the president and the owner of Amazon, he grew his wealth so much because everyone was online and shopping on Amazon, that he's predicted to be the first trillionaire in the world by 2026. So that's the type of obscene and excessive wealth that I'm talking about. And then moderation here refers to people trying to not go overboard with things, but to create like a balance in their lives.
Dr. Rajat has raised a hand. He wants to say something.
Yes, if I may. So you are a little bit talking about some kind of consciousness, self-consciousness, and self-moderation, right? And you said that if we would be conscious enough, we will not see internet fakes as if they were true, right? But you said about deep fakes movies, right? And I have some problems with that, because how can we verify them? How can we be conscious about them if we cannot verify them? There are deep fakes, right? So they're really easy to
So
verify.
I think yeah, no, you're right. I think to spot a real deep fake video, I think you would need probably specialized IT technologies and knowledge on certain things. But I think I'm actually referring. I just took that as an example. I'm referring to that human instinct of quickly jumping into conclusions and trying to formulate prejudices and biases, and that happens at the thought level. For example, even I have received some deep fake movies, because there's a lot of files going
Barack
around.
Obama, the best known one, right? The best known one is about Barack Obama deepfake, right?
Yes, and that's right. The movies, and also there are characters like being these popular characters being shamed by putting them into pornographic movies. So you see pornographic films with famous characters such as like actresses and actors, but they're actually not them. So what I'm trying to refer here is now if you just keep on consuming digital technologies, or what digital technologies offer, you will not worry about seeing the truth. You would not want to see the truth. You will quickly jump into conclusions, because even when my friends sent me some of these videos, they said, okay, this actor is doing that and that, and I looked, and it was quite clear to my eye that it was not them. It was like it was quite clear. So what I'm referring to here, Monica, is actually that human instinct of not jumping into conclusions or making prejudices and biases, which we tend to do, and that happens at the thought level. So I am requesting that we should be conscious and make that change.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yes, Kapil. I think Kapil has a question.
Yeah, Rajat also has raised the hand, and Dr. Joshi is also raising the hand. So one by one, you can add and ask the questions. Yeah, please go ahead.
Should I?
Yeah, anyone. You can do that, and Dr. Rajat also raised the hand. Yeah,
Mr. Asanga, it's a really wonderful presentation you have just shown all of us, and I think that you must have done a lot of studies in this field. I have a very small query in my mind, because sometimes I also think about the same lines which you have just told all of us. That I'm telling it with the perception of what Stephen Hawking said just a few months before he died, that he found that this AI is going to be the biggest disaster for the human race in the time to come. And this digital technology and artificial intelligence, and today we are at the peak of it. And I think thanks to this digital technology and AI, that today we all are on the same platform and we are participating in such a prestigious conference. But with all due regard to AI and digital technology, do you think that the philosophy which Buddha has given to us, and because in India also we have a lot of followers, and practically speaking, every Hindu in India is a is a follower of Gandhian and Buddhist philosophy. But the scene which is emerging as on date globally, uh, you find that there is still a hope of a moderate society uh, under the present circumstances, where we can really follow those traits, or which you just told, that the Panchshila, which you told, is it possible? And if at all it is possible, then can you give us a very basic and a very grassroots type level prescription that what exactly a human being should do? Uh, because this is ultimate. if we are talking about a moderate society, it is ultimate, because everywhere we are seeing a lot of aggression is coming. People are fighting. They have no tolerance. It's all, everything is happening which is not mentioned in Panchshila. That is all, everything is happening. So how you view that in the time to come, when you see the news in the evening, prime time news, we don't know from tomorrow the third world war is going to happen. Everywhere arms, ammunition, etc. Everything is happening. So please give us some practical solution that still under this adverse circumstances, how we can think of about the moderate society. Thank you.
Thank you, Kapil. That's a very relevant question, and I think it's possible. The answer I would give you, it's possible, but it's very, very difficult for
Yeah.
exactly the reasons you just mentioned. Because everywhere you look around, it's chaos, right? We are at the edge of chaos, or maybe not at the edge. We have fallen into chaos. But uh, I strongly believe that it's possible. And what we need to do is to take baby steps. We will not be able to change because we got into this mess, over a long period of time, of bad behavior and bad practices. So I think we need to take baby steps, and those baby steps should be taken at the three levels, as I mentioned, at the individual level, and at the corporate level, and at the government level, because we individuals alone can make a difference. Yes, true, but with the current economic and political structures, the individual action alone will not be able to counter those bigger structures. So, and when we talk about government and corporates, we are talking about structures, but actually these structures are run by individuals like you and me, right? It's just that their priorities are a little different to ours. So that's why I said I'm calling out to the actual people who are running the structures of government and politics to themselves look at moderation. And I think, if we look at the moderation, in these three areas, especially when it comes to technology, and when I think the biggest influencer of our lives at the moment are the big tech companies. So I think, the people behind them, behind the companies, need to see that they have to use their competence, their skill, in developing technologies for good and humanity. And there are a couple of examples, actually. Big tech firms like Google, where the workers actually declined to do some of the things that Google wanted to do. For example, to support the American defense industry, and they stopped doing that. So, if we look at the people in these structures and try to stimulate the goodness in each person, because we have both good and bad in ourselves, and if we try to stimulate the good, I think we can make a difference.
Yeah, Dr. Rajat also wanted to add something. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, my point is very simple, that we need to continuously talk for things like moderate values, moderate consumption, moderate way of lifestyle, and continuously talking of these things will help us to make a little impact in the way we are moving ahead. You see, all these things are there, and at the same time we need to have a different force which is parallelly acting. That is the force of innovation, that is the force of disruption. And now, how to create a balance between the sustainability and the disruptions or innovations or disasters? For that purpose, the bridge is the way of the teachings of Buddha, the teachings of Ramayana, the teachings of Jainism. All these teachings can only help us to make a moderate lifestyle. And I'm very happy that people like Asanga, they are trying to propagate the ideas of Buddhism, and we particularly from India feel very happy that the seeds of Buddhism originated from this land, and this is one way that India is able to give the knowledge to whole world, the concepts of Buddhism, and the whole belt. If you start moving from Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and then to up to Japan, you will find that the influence of Buddhism and the whole idea of the teachings of Buddhism came from the land of India. So the moderate path, and I very humbly say that it is we, like Monica was asking, that who will be moderating. So I will like to say that we have to moderate ourselves. So if we do meditation, if we do samadhi, if we do vipassana, if we follow the teachings of these scriptures, we will be able to moderate ourselves. And if we can moderate ourselves, we will we have to first start from ourselves, then only we will talk of others. So I'm very happy, and there is no question, it is just a comment on the presentation of Asanga. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajan.
Thank you. So there are comments coming in chat box. You can see that Govind Prasad has just written that yoga can also help. So yes, definitely it can. And now if you allow me, Asanga, I invite Dr. Kapil Joshi to present upon his research area. Please go ahead. We have next 22 minutes with us. So, and we will keep on discussing the subject area as well. Very interesting presentation. Thank you so much.